everyone, welcome back. Today I have another new addition to our clear stamps. This time we're changing up the season for fall, in this case specifically Halloween. Now I've already gone to the liberty of prepping my card, cutting out my pieces, and getting all of my supplies. This is my vision for what the card is going to look like. This is more of a square shape card that I cut down to be the size that I desired. In addition to that, I already put my textured patterned paper on top of it, and then layered my pieces how I would like. This is some fun Halloween themed crafting paper, and in addition to already cutting it out, I made this sort of banner shape, and all I did was take my scissors and cut from one corner to the next, and it gave this kind of fun little flag effect. Since this is a really busy pattern, I'm going to lay one more piece on top of it and then have an additional horizontal embellishment going through. I really want to feature my trick or treat stamp, so I think that's going to be my main focus. Now that I'm looking at everything, I think I'm in pretty good shape. I'm actually going to only really be stamping today and highlight my little stamps I have for you guys today. I'm gonna open this up. Set that aside. Set that aside. All right. And now that I'm looking at it, I want everything to be laid out and ready to go. So all I have to do is stamp, and I don't have to putz around, pick up all my little extra pieces. I'm just gonna get straight down to business. Taking my handy dandy glue tape roller, and I am just going to eyeball my little flag. If you are someone who really likes to get precise and exact measurements, you can take your ruler or your guide, and that should help you get the best result. I'm going to take this. I'm going to use this just to help me get my placement. Whoops. I think I'm just going to go a little higher up. I can actually use these little polka dots to help me line up and get a nice even surface. Take those edges off. Looks good. I'm not going to attach this, not quite yet, because I want my stamps to create a fun pattern on it and have the stamps almost coming off the edges of the paper. So I'm going to set that aside and get this all ready to go. I do want my paper though to have a focus, and that focus today is this stamp that says trick or treat. So I want that to be more near the bottom so that all my other stamps can embellish it and frame trick or treat and tie it all together. I'm getting my black Excel mark pigment ink and getting that trick or treat nice and saturated. Looks good. For this set, I really enjoy this three-dimensional look that the type has. It gives it a bit more of a lift, and especially if you are running out of 3D elements or embellishments or just really don't feel like it, having a text that pops out like this just adds a nice lifted effect. Now for sure, I want my candy corns. However, I don't really like candy corn. But I'm just gonna kind of have them in a random little position. Stamp this down. I'm doing 3 at a time, so that way I'm getting the most surface area covered with my stamps, with my paper. Not my stamps. Push down. Now that I have cut ahead, I have my clear standard embossing powder. This is just something that's going to adhere to my ink, and once embossed using my heat gun, give it a nice shine. This is also a good trick just to give your piece a little bit more something, a little bit more pizzazz. Obviously, if you want to do different colors, there's pretty much every color you can imagine with embossing powder. I'm just doing clear because I want my ink to be nice and bold. And since I already did black, a clear embossing powder is just going to emphasize that and make everything just really stand out. As you can see, I really heavily applied that embossing powder because I want everything to be coated and I want it all to cover any little spot that has ink on it. Also, as I'm looking at my little card, I do see that there are some spots that have embossing powder on them that I do not want to have. So I'm just gonna hold that and using that same brush, just brush away any extra. Now, if too much comes off, that's no problem because you can just go back and pour some additional powder on and do the same process. Or if some is a little sparse, but nothing too crazy, when you hit it with the heat gun, it's going to melt all those little granules down. So if there's a little spot that doesn't have full coverage, more than likely not, your heat gun is just going to disperse that all. So with that in mind, let's hit it. It looks like it all melted down and it has a nice sheen to it. And there is some, actually a little bit of texture, but I don't mind that. So we're gonna go with it. And I'm just going to go in with a little bit of color. I have some color set aside. I'm not gonna do anything crazy because again, I already have a lot of textures and colors going on in my card. So I'm just gonna do some basic little shadings. Oh, I forgot a little piece. I am using the fine point tip on my markers this time around, just so I can get all those little nooks and crannies. Looking at it right now, you might be thinking it's a little plain, but once I hit it right here, I don't think it's that plain at all. However, I do want to go in with this a little bit. I did use some scrap paper that I had from my previous cuttings. sometimes you may find that you have some leftover paper that would work just as well on the front as it would on the back. So if you ever run out of the glue tape, it just pops right open, and you can buy refills, and the refill just snaps right in, and you're good to go. All right, now I'm all ready to go. I went in with a few more strips of tape just so that everything lays down nicely. There is a slight bit of warping, so I want this to be nice and glued down. I do have some fun little gems here. I might do some embellishing in here. Let's see what happens. So I went in and added some additional rhinestones in pink, green, and this iridescent clear, and I'm pretty happy with it. It's a little bit more on the simpler plain side, but what we did is a lot of layering, custom cutouts, we heat embossed, we stamped, we colored with marker. I even went ahead and used my edge trimmer for these nice round corners. So there are quite a few techniques in here that made up this card. And I actually do see something that I can fix. As always, my handy dandy favorite white jelly roll pen. Clean up any of those edges. Now I have a perfect trick-or-treating Halloween card for you to send to a loved one, a child, a grandchild, whoever it may be, to celebrate the spooky time of year. With that said, thank you for watching, and we would love to see what you make using our stamps. To share with us on social media, tag us in your post, #StampWithUs. Again, that is #StampWithUs. Can't wait to see what you will make. Thanks for joining.